One of these three women survived a real-life towering inferno. Number one, what is your name, please?
My name is Melinda Score.
Number two.
My name is Melinda Score.
Number three.
My name is Melinda Score.
Only one of these people is the real Melinda Score and is the only one sworn to tell the truth. Now, let's meet our panel. Actor and raconteur, Orson Bean. Actress and cartoon voice, Dana Hill. Film and television producer, David Niven Jr. And to tell the truth's very own, Kitty Carlisle. Here's the host of To Tell the Truth, Alex Trebek.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, and good morning, panel.
Good morning, Alex.
All right, let's get right to our first story, represented by this team of challengers, all three of whom claim to be Melinda Score. I, Melinda Score, and a co-worker were trapped on the 37th floor of the worst high-rise fire in the history of Los Angeles. The fire was raging on the floors below us, and the stairwells had become chimneys of smoke. We tried to make phone calls for help, but soon the lines went dead. Smoke began descending into our office from the ceiling. The sprinkler system was not yet functional. With survival skills learned in business school, we began searching for pockets of clean air and materials for constructing crude air filters. We managed to stay conscious for over 4 hours, but at 3 a.m., no longer able to breathe and my strength gone, I was convinced I was about to die. I collapsed on a desk. My next memory was of a welcome pair of strong arms carrying me to safety. Signed, Melinda Score. We'll find out more about this woman who survived the worst high-rise fire in the history of Los Angeles right after this break. Perhaps the most frightening thought is the thought of dying in a fire. And all three of these people claim to be Melinda Score, who struggled for survival in that high-rise fire in Los Angeles. Kitty, you'll start the question, please.
Thank you. Number three, how do you construct a clean air filter?
We took a bottle and we had put a hole on one end and we were breathing through the bottle.
Number two, how do you find a tool in an office to make a hole in a bottle?
I took the scissors out of my desk.
Number one, I'm sorry, you're supposed to crawl on the floor. Did you do that?
Yes, certainly.
And why were you at your desk then instead of on the floor when you passed out?
Well, it was quite a bit of time later that I was at my desk.
David.
I'm fascinated about these survival skills learned in business school. Now, my brother went to Harvard Business School. I don't think he learned anything about this. What did you learn?
Well, we have what's called survival games, and it's pretty much common sense. 2 heads are better than 1.
But number two, I don't quite understand how that helps you survive in a fire.
Well, it helped me because I realized I had to be very careful each step I took. I had to be careful not to lock myself into the stairwell because I couldn't get out.
Okay, number three, what was the cause of this fire?
They're not really certain what the cause of the fire was. They think that it might have been electrical.
All right, and
Dana.
Number three, what was the name of the building that caught on fire?
It was the First Interstate building.
Okay, and number two, who played the captain in the TV movie that they just recently made out of this disaster? Who played the fire captain?
William Dafoe.
Okay, and number one, what business were you working in the building? What was your job?
I was a financial analyst.
Okay, and what kind of lung damage, number one, did you sustain? Any? And do you have any permanent effects from it?
No permanent effects, thank God.
Okay, and number two...
Dana's on a roll again, Orson.
Were you ever a nun in parochial school?
She's a tough act to follow.
I think I had her. Number two, there was nothing more terrifying. This is worse than sitting through the movie. What did you give up hope at some point?
Actually, I did. It was in 4 hours in. I couldn't see anywhere. I couldn't breathe.
Oh, my God.
And I have to admit I did at that point.
Number two, what's the pros and cons about breaking a window? Would you have been able to break one of the windows?
Yes.
I meant to say number 3. Would you have been able to break one of the windows if you'd wanted to?
No, the windows are very, very thick, and you really can't break them.
Number 1, if you could, to get air in, would that also maybe not draw the fire in, or don't you know?
Certainly.
What was the worst aspect of it, other than thinking you were going to die?
I could see the smoke all around me for hours, and I just knew I was breathing all around.
Again, number 1, why were there only 2 of you in the...
Yeah. All right. Time to vote, panelists, for the woman you think is the one who survived this high-rise fire, the worst in L.A. history. Is it number 1? Is it number 2? Or is it number 3? Our team of challengers will receive $500 for each incorrect vote with a minimum guarantee of $1,000. And if our panel is fooled completely, then the team receives $3,000. Kitty, for whom did you vote?
Well, it's so horrifying that this is pure instinct. I can hardly bear to think about it. I voted for number 3.
All righty. David.
Well, I actually agreed with Kitty and voted for number 3, but for a totally different reason, and that is that the first 2 answered questions about what they learned at business school and how to survive, and number 3 never really got a chance to answer, and I didn't believe the first 2.
Ah, you don't think they learn about survival techniques at business school?
Not for fires.
Not for fires. Dana.
Number 2, it was Lee Majors that played the captain in the movie. That's why I eliminated you. Number 3 and 1, it was a toss-up, and I went with number 1.
All right.
Why would she know? She wouldn't necessarily know.
Well, I suppose if there was a disaster about your life, wouldn't you know who played the main part in it?
Not necessarily.
I want to know who played her.
That's a good question that you didn't get a chance to ask. For whom did you vote, Orson?
It was Heather Thomas or Heather Locklear, one or the other. I voted for number 2. I don't know why. She just struck me as maybe...
All right. Each of our ladies has received a vote. Number 1 got 1 vote. Number 2 got 1 vote. And number 3, you received 2 votes. So let's find out who the real fire escape artist is. Will the real Melinda Score please stand up? Number 3, 2 of our panelists correctly identified you, Melinda. Now, for David's benefit and for all of us, what kinds of lessons do you learn in business school, survival lessons?
We actually had a survival game when I began business school. I went to the Sloan School of Management at MIT. Everyone had big egos, came in, we played a survival game. One of the things that we learned is that you don't try to save yourself when you don't know the circumstances, the smoke in the stairwells, the chimneys. There was no way that we could go into that and live through it. So instead, we tried to get attention, waving to helicopters, putting up notes, signs, calling people, trying to keep ourselves alive, breathing through different apparatus in the meantime.
Okay, happy ending. Well, let's meet our imposters. Number 1, you got a vote. Tell us about yourself.
I'm Janet Bastian. I'm a triplet, and I work as a travel agent.
All righty. And number 2, you got a vote also.
Yes, I'm Jean Hartman. I work for Designs on Nature, and we build fire-resistant trees.
Good for you. Well, there were 2 incorrect votes, ladies, at $500 a vote, so the team will receive $1,000. And we thank you for being with us today on To Tell the Truth. Right now, our next guest is snooping around backstage. He's the foremost private investigator in the country, and you'll meet him and the imposters after this. We're back, and it's time now to meet our next team of challengers.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Milo Spiriglio.
Number 2.
My name is Milo Spiriglio.
Number 3.
My name is Milo Spiriglio.
It's up to our panel to determine who the real Milo Spiriglio is, and I will read his affidavit right now. I, Milo Spiriglio, am the director and chief of the Nick Harris Detective Agency. In the past 85 years, we have cracked more than 1 million cases, including the mysterious deaths of Hollywood celebrities. We looked into the death of starlet Jane Mansfield and her unfortunate and bizarre connection to a satanic cult. We uncovered telling information about the demise of George Reeves, the man who played Superman on television. We probed the untimely end of beautiful actress Natalie Wood, who drowned in the murky waters off Catalina Island. And for years, I investigated Marilyn Monroe and her ties to John F. Kennedy and to Jimmy Hoffa. And after intensive investigation, I believe she was murdered. Today, we are involved with a large number of love investigations. We are hired to spy on potential suitors. And before the couple walks down the aisle, we make sure the fiancé has nothing to hide. Signed, Milo Spiriglio. Let's see how well these people who are used to asking probing questions will respond to probing questions. Orson, lead us on.
Yes. Well, the Jane Mansfield, I appeared for 1 year opposite Jane Mansfield. This accounts for my bad posture. Number 2, was there the satanic cult connection? I've heard of that for years. Is there anything to it, number 2?
Well, it's hard to say. All we know is that there was a curse put on Jane Mansfield's boyfriend at the time.
A curse?
That's right.
Was put on. Mercy. Number 3, who pays you to investigate things like Marilyn or Natalie? Where does the money come from, or is that you just do it for your own interest?
No, generally clients pay private detective agencies to conduct these investigations.
Well, number 1, did anyone pay you to investigate Marilyn?
No, I did it in my own self-interest.
So, you're nosy.
Dana.
Number 1, what are the type of cases that you usually brought to you?
Divorce cases, a lot of divorce cases.
Okay, and number 2, how many cases have you yourself personally solved?
Oh, hundreds and hundreds of cases.
Okay, number 3, what's the shortest case? What's the shortest amount of time it took you to solve something?
Oh, probably 10 minutes.
Okay, number 1, what's the longest case you've ever had?
13 years.
Wow, and it was solved, okay.
All right, let's go to David.
Okay, number 1, what do you charge by the hour?
$55 an hour.
Okay, and number 2, how many detectives do you have working with you?
At the moment, about half a dozen.
Okay, number 3, what is the most exciting love connection investigation that you're working on at the moment?
At the moment, I'm not working on one.
What was the
Oh, you didn't get a chance to ask that question, and I'm sorry you didn't. Kitty.
Number 1, what was the case you worked on for 13 years?
I can't divulge that yet.
You haven't solved it yet.
I'm still working on it.
And number 2, who paid you to investigate Marilyn Monroe's death?
Nobody paid me, actually.
Oh. And number 3, you want to answer Mr. Niven's question?
Yes, the question is, I'm not working on a case of that nature at this time.
Oh, you see? I knew it wasn't any good.
No, it was a good question. You didn't answer the question.
He avoided or evaded your question. Well, it's time for you 4 to cast your ballots. For the one you figure is the master detective. Is it number 1? Is it number 2? Or is it number 3? 3 different types of gentlemen here. Fascinating. Orson, for whom did you vote?
Well, in real life, private eyes, I don't think look like they do in the movies. I voted for number 3. He has the look of the genuine gumshoe about him.
All righty, there's a vote for number 3. Dana?
He doesn't look like Jim Rockford to me. I don't know, no. They were all wonderful. I am completely fooled, and it's a shot in the dark. I went with number 1.
Shot in the Dark. That was a movie about another famous detective, Inspector Clouseau. David, for whom did you cast your ballot?
Well, I was going to vote for number 3, but he was so evasive to both me and Miss Carlyle that I found that offensive. So therefore, I did not vote for him, and instead voted for number 2.
There is nowhere in the rules of To Tell the Truth, ladies and gentlemen, where it says that our panelists cannot become incensed or enraged at the challengers. Kitty?
I really don't know because I'm not very much up on that kind of thing. But I think number 1 looks Italian.
That's as good a reason as any. Let's review the voting. 2 votes for the man Kitty thinks looks Italian, and Mike Spiriglio, that would seem to fit. We have 1 vote, though, for number 2, and 1 vote also for number 3. So let's find out, ladies and gentlemen, who the real master detective is. Will the real Milo Spiriglio please stand up? It is number 3. Well, now, Milo, let's talk about the Maryland conspiracy, your book, and the research that went into that. Did anyone hire you at first to do that, and then you pursued it on your own, or was it your idea all the way?
No, actually, a major Los Angeles newspaper brought the case to us together with a close confidant of Marilyn Monroe's, Bob Slater, and I worked for them on the case just in my spare time. I used some of the agents from our bureau and also our training academy.
Now, are any indictments likely to come about as a result of your book and the investigation?
My next book is going to be a motion picture called Crypt 33. We're going to name all 5 of Marilyn's murders for the first time.
All 5 of them?
All 5. I can tell you this much. 3 have been assassinated. The last one 2 years ago. One is now a federal witness whose identity has been changed, and the last person is serving 12 years in federal jail.
Whoa. Well, you've aroused my interest. I'm waiting for the movie or the script or whatever. The panel was just great with all 3 of you, but you managed to pick up 3 incorrect votes, and that's thanks to our imposters. Let's find out who they are now. Number 1, who are you?
My name is Pat LaRocca. I'm a Beverly...
He's Italian, sure. Kitty was right.
And I'm a Beverly Hills tour guide.
Hey, that's fun. Number 2, there was 1 incorrect vote for you as well.
My name is David Adnapose, and I scout locations for paid telephones.
For paid telephones. That's a far cry from being a private detective. Well, as I said, 3 incorrect votes at $500 each. That means you, as a team, will receive $1,500. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us on To Tell the Truth. Fascinating story, that Maryland conspiracy. We'll be back to play one-on-one with somebody from our studio audience right after this. Welcome back. It's time now to play one-on-one with someone from our studio audience. And it looks as if Charlie O has found a very attractive someone.
A beautiful young lady. This is Nicole Link, Alex, from Sherman, Texas.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Nicole. I love your sweater.
Thank you.
Here's a chance for you to make some good California money. $500 in cash for you.
Great.
Let me introduce a gentleman first who has 2 stories to tell. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Larry Peterman. Nicole, Larry's going to tell us 2 stories, only one of which happens to be true. You spot that story, then $500 will be coming your way. Larry, what's your first story?
My dog does a stupid pet trick. He can blow bubbles.
Well, David Letterman will be very interested in you if that is the true story, but that's just one of them. Let's hear story number 2.
I make lollipops for people with unusual taste. One of them is tequila flavored and has a worm inside.
Ooh. Yeah. Okay, Nicole, you think about these stories while our panelists question Larry. And we'll start the questioning with you, Kitty. The first story, the dog that blows bubbles. Stupid pet trick time.
Mr. Peterman, with or without soap?
Well, the soap gets in his eye, so we use the bubble stuff.
David?
How did you treat... Let me start again. How did you teach the dog to exhale instead of inhale?
Well, when he barks, he naturally exhales and just calms him down a little bit.
No.
Dana?
What brand of bubbles do you feel works the best?
Bubble stuff in the green bottle.
Orson?
I hope this is not the true story, because if it is, I'm sure we're going to have to watch your dumb dog blow bubbles. Is this, are there many dogs that can do this trick?
Not that I know of.
None, thank the Lord for
Yes.
that.
All right, Nicole, you've heard story number 1. Now let's get to story number 2. The one about the lollipops for people with unusual tastes. Kitty?
Both stories are unbelievable, but I'll ask one about the second thing, which is the worm alive or dead?
Well, it's dead when it's in the sucker, yeah.
What is the most popular breed of worm that you use for this type?
Beetle larva.
Dana?
How much do these lollipops cost, and where can I get one?
$1, and I don't know.
Orson?
What's the name of the famous booze that has a worm in it?
Mezcal.
Mezcal.
Mezcal. All right, Nicole, you've heard both stories. You've heard the entire cross-examination. Let's see if you're going to win $500. Does Larry's dog blow bubbles, or does he make lollipops with worms inside?
You really seem to sure know a lot about the dog and the blowing bubbles. I think it's that first one.
All right, you think his dog might wind up on the Letterman show, blowing bubbles. Larry, what's your true story?
To tell the truth, I make lollipops with worms.
Ooh. Sorry, Nicole. We do have a lovely gift for you backstage. Larry, you brought some tape along. Perhaps you could explain what we are seeing here. This is your fact. Whoa.
There's some of the gourmet worms that we use. This is the cooking medium, and they're going in the molds, making nice suckers, and inspecting them to make sure they're okay.
So the worms are alive, Kitty, you've noticed?
Before they go in.
I'm not looking.
And that's the brand of worms.
And how much do these worms, these particular suckers go for, the ones with the worms in them?
95 cents to $1.
95 cents to $1. Well, here's an example of Larry's work, ladies and gentlemen, and there's the worm.
And we didn't forget the panel either.
Wait a minute. You have worms in all of those?
Looks like it.
Okay, Larry, you distribute them, and we'll thank you very much for playing one-on-one with us. You win $1,000, and we will be right back. I don't know if we'll be back with the suckers.
Okay.
Remember, folks, in a couple of weeks on To Tell the Truth, we're going to give you a chance to win a date with your favorite soap opera star. You don't have to bring the sucker with the worm inside. Keep watching the show, though. We'll have more exciting things for you tomorrow. See you then.
Coming up, it's an hour of fun and glamorous prizes on The Price is Right with Bob Barker. Then get set for a perfect match. Ross Schaefer and Match Game at 7 p.m. only on Game Show Network.